Here's Q.
Good afternoon, everyone. 5 o'clock straight up on the East Coast. It is indeed a Wednesday edition of The Drive with you coming at you live inside the friendly confines of the Sports Radio 1029 FM The Game studios. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. We'll take you up to about 6 o'clock or so on what's turned out to be a nasty Wednesday, the 12th of February 2025. Don't forget the 727-858-6650. That'll get you involved in two-way sports talk, bring something to the table. You know, we had a ridiculous amount of engagement on Monday's edition of The Drive with Q. And then last night, Lloyd Vance and I, it's up on demand, by the way, on the SR 1029 FM The Game website. We dropped a new Back Your Play BYP powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. So we started to talk about, and I guess it's interesting because you always want I guess you can say you put the bow on what's transpired over the last 24, 48 hours, right? Super Bowl, put it in the books. Here we go. Eagles will have their parade on Friday, Valentine's Day, fitting, right? How sweet it is. There's supposed to be about 1 million people or so. And hopefully everyone just has fun. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of great content and quotes and comments, and rightfully so. Then you move on. After Friday, all right, here we go. It's the off season, which kind of leads me into this on this Wednesday. And I'll throw it out to you guys. Again, 727-858-6650. There's two coins, and 4 different sides here when we really break it down. The Philadelphia Eagles are such a young team. They have a great GM. They're going to ink their head coach to a new deal. We know that. You got a franchise quarterback. We've already agreed. You've got an all-world running back. We know, player to player, position to position. Here we go. Philadelphia Eagles. All right. Are they built to now do what the Kansas City Chiefs have done over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years? Is this built to last? Do you believe the Eagles right now, as presently constructed, because they're always going to make moves, and you also know that NFL teams, Super Bowl winning teams, are not always the same team the year after. That's number one. Then you look at the other coin and the flip side to that, the Kansas City Chiefs. I've heard already today, and I don't even know what the hell some of these talking heads are smoking before they go on the air. Travis Kelce, shot, done. All right, he might retire. Patrick Mahomes, shot, done, washed. Andy Reid needs to step down. This is where we're going today. Andy Reid needs to step down. Are you kidding me? Are you absolutely? If that's the case, if Andy Reid needs to retire and step down, then so should Patrick Mahomes. Because Mahomes did not have the best Super Bowl. Andy Reid didn't have the best coach Super Bowl. Steve Spagnuolo didn't have the best defensive game plan. Kelce didn't play well. The offense struggled. The defense gave up big plays. So to suggest on a Wednesday that a surefire Hall of Fame head coach that has over 300 wins in his career should sit it out, should retire, is absolutely asinine. It's absolutely asinine to suggest that. I mean, that is your worst Monday morning quarterbacking, Tuesday morning quarterbacking, Wednesday morning quarterbacking with a touch of jackassness, if that's even a word. This guy is a Hall of Fame head coach. This guy is going to rollerblade into Canton. If he hangs around for the next couple years, he's going to win another one. And he might win 330-something odd games. He might, including the playoffs, he might all time be the winningest head coach in NFL history. And we're going to sit here and suggest because you had one bad Sunday that Mahomes is done, Mahomes is washed, Andy Reid should retire. If we're going to have the type of positive spin on the Philadelphia Eagles and right away sit there and say they're a dynasty, they're built to do what Kansas City did over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, then rest assured that we're going to sit here and say you haven't seen the last of Patrick Mahomes or Andy Reid, because you haven't. You want to sit there and talk about Travis Kelce, and, I know he's on the pod with his brother, and I know, he was emotional, and people were looking at the all 22. They were breaking down the footage. They were saying he was missing blocks. He wasn't running strong routes. He was dropping passes. He's washed. His head's not in the game. Okay, fine. Only Kelce can make that decision. Really. Only Kelce can make that decision if he's going to continue to play or not in the NFL. And here's the thing. If he turns around and he decides he's not going to play anymore and he's going to call it a career and he's going to retire, he's a Hall of Fame tight end. He's a Hall of Fame tight end. So nobody's going to take that away from him. But to suggest that the head coach should sit this one out and retire, then you might as well sit there and say the franchise quarterback, the all-time great Patrick Mahomes, needs to sit it out as well. You can't say that. You win as a team, you lose as a team. And the head coach will take the brunt of it. The head coach gets criticized too much, and he doesn't get enough respect at times. The quarterback gets over-criticized, and sometimes he gets too much of the credit. We know that. That's life in the NFL. You know it, and I know it. But sometimes I think, oh my God, this reaction. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Look, it was a bad loss. They did not show up. On the biggest stage, they didn't show up. They got beat by a team that was peaking, and Kansas City was ripe for the picking. That's all it was. It doesn't diminish what Andy Reid has done in his career. It doesn't diminish what Travis Kelce has done in his career. It doesn't diminish what Jones has done in his career or what Patrick Mahomes has done in his career. You lost the Super Bowl, but they've also won, and they won a lot. So to suggest that the head coach should step down, it's just a clown comment. I'm sorry. Look, Rob Parker, I'm sorry. It's a clown comment. You all of a sudden, you're talking about this fall off a cliff. It's 2 years and they freaking won the Super Bowl last year. What the hell are you watching? I'm telling you right now, Andy Reid is a prideful guy. Patrick Mahomes is a prideful guy. Jones is they've got prideful guys, players, winners on that team, part of that franchise. You think next year they're not going to come out and be pissed off? You think for 1 minute they're not going to come out next year and try to send a friggin' message to remind people that they haven't gone anywhere? That's the beauty of sports. That's the beauty of what transpired on Sunday night, because the Philadelphia Eagles punched them in the mouth. The Philadelphia Eagles said, you know what? Screw you. We're taking your friggin' ball and we're kicking you off the sandbox, kicking you out of the sandbox. What are you going to do about it? Well, guess what? Now Kansas City has an opportunity to regroup and retool. They have an opportunity to regroup and retool. So let's pump the brakes right away on just casting everyone to the side. Because again, if you're going to sit there and tell me that the Philadelphia Eagles right now is presently constructed, they are built to be a dynasty. I heard this song in a dance a couple years ago when they won the first one. And the last time I checked, that wasn't a dynasty. They're a special team. They are a special team. They're a very good team. I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is an all-time top 5 great Super Bowl winning team. Not even close. Sorry. Not even close. 72 Dolphins would like a word. The 78 Steelers, who went 17-2, that have 10 Hall of Famers, would also like a word. The 85 Bears would like a word. The 86 Giants would like a word. The 84 San Francisco 49ers would like a word. Oh, by the way, you want me to keep going? The 92 Cowboys, the 76 Raiders. Let's pump the brakes. It was a great season. It was a hell of a run, and it culminated with a decisive win and performance in the Super Bowl. Now, here's the trick. Do it again. Run it back. Don't be a one and done. That's the tough thing. And that's why it goes back to Kansas City and how hard it is to do what they've done. Do you understand? It's tough to win in the NFL. It's tough to win in the playoffs. It's even tougher to get to a Super Bowl and to win it, to get to a Super Bowl and lose it and then come back and win it. Folks, come on. Let's have an honest conversation right now. If the Philadelphia Eagles turn around next year and they go 7-10, yeah, you give them the mulligan. You want to call it a Super Bowl hangover, but there's no dynasty. You got to get back. You got to go back to back. You got to get there one or two more times, right? And you got to win it. They get back there next year and they win it again, back to back. That's something friggin' special. You're in rarefied air if you can do something like that. And I believe they're built to do that. I do. I believe they are built to go back to back because the way the NFC is, look, we don't know what's going to go on with the Rams and Stafford. There's talk that the Giants might come into play. We don't know what's going to go on with Minnesota. Are they going to pay Sam Darnold? They're going to let Sam Darnold walk. We have no idea. San Francisco, they've got the best short odds, if you will, to get to the Super Bowl for a team that didn't make the playoffs. Detroit is still Detroit. They still mentally can't get over that hump. Washington's on the rise. Green Bay's still there. It's a good opportunity that the Eagles are going to be right back in here. We're going to be having this conversation again in late January next season, right? Pretty much bringing back the core. It's a young team. And when you win it one time, you get hungry. You get thirsty. You want to go out and win it again. And that's the trick. There's the rub. It's so hard to do. It's so hard to win back-to-back championships, man. So hard to do. And I think they have the talent to do it, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you right now, this is a dynasty. It could be the makings of one, but I'm also going to tell you the Chiefs dynasty is not done. The Chiefs dynasty is not over. The run isn't over. It's not. It isn't. They got too much talent, even though they have to address certain spots, i.e. the offensive line. Look, some of those sacks the other day, Travis Kelce wasn't even blocking. He wasn't even chipping. He wasn't even helping out. You can't put it all on the offensive line. You can't put it all on Patrick Mahomes. But to suggest that Andy Reid should step down, all of a sudden Andy Reid became a bad head coach? Really? Did I miss something? Oh, okay. I didn't know. Look, there's going to be changes. There's always changes. The offseason, you have changes. You've got free agent decisions. You got guys that, want to cash in, guys that maybe they won enough. They turn around 15-2. I got to Super Bowl. I didn't win it, but I won it last year. I want to go somewhere else. I want to cash in. Fix the offensive line. They have to make improvements. The offensive line backfired, right? In the Super Bowl, on the biggest stage. You got to add some depth, running back position. You got to add some depth in the secondary. It's going to be a very pivotal offseason for Kansas City. And again, you're talking about a team that has won back-to-back, loss trying to go for the three-peat. They were 15-2. They got back to the game. And they're going to have some decisions, right? Because you're looking at the guard, Trey Smith. You're looking at Marquise Brown, the receiver. You're looking at offensive tackle, DJ Humphries. You're going to have some decisions. But I'm not suggesting it's ludicrous on a Wednesday, a couple days removed from the Super Bowl, where it's still raw for Chiefs Kingdom, Chiefs fans, and Kansas City players, to suggest this head coach should step down. That's absolutely just a dumb take. And now we're going to sit there and say the quarterback is washed off of one bad game. Look, did the Eagles break them on Sunday? Yeah, they did. But I heard a lot of times Tom Brady, hell, how many years ago did we hear Tom Brady's never going to win it again? Then he just routinely just ripped off another four Super Bowl wins. Remember that conversation? When a national prominent talking heads, Tom Brady's done. He's shot. He's washed. You think for 1 minute that right now, this is not going to fuel Kansas City? You're sadly mistaken. And then the flip side, as I mentioned, the other team, the Philadelphia Eagles. You're going to get fat in the offseason. You're going to work your ass off to get back there again. So we got a lot of NFL to dive into. I want to mix in a little NBA because I saw something last night where after I saw it, I said to myself, it's done. It's over. Reset. We'll get into that. 727-858-6650. 727-858-6650. We'll open up the comments on the other side. I want to hear from you guys as well. Keep it locked in. 15 past 5 o'clock hour on a Wednesday edition of The Drive with Q, coming at you live inside the friendly confines of the Sports Radio 102.9 FM. Studios, Coastal Sports Network. Your comments on the other side. We are powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. Don't forget, if you download the newest edition of Back Your Play, you'll see the notes in there, BYP20. That'll get you 20% off. I want to hear from you guys on the other side, 727-858-6650. That'll get you involved in a Wednesday edition of The Drive with Q. Keep it locked in. We'll take you up to about 6-ish on a nasty Wednesday, of course, up and down the East Coast. Hope you guys are safe and sound. We'll get to your comments on the other side.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Don't forget to get social with us. Follow Q at Rich Q on Q. And now, back to Q.
All right. What do we got here? 17 past 5 o'clock hour. We'll get to some of your comments on Facebook as well as X. The Madman, as he does, the loyal part of the QQ chimes in. The Eagles team is like choosing best available when a draft pick falls to you. They did nothing outrageous that makes you think they're one of the best Super Bowl winning teams. Correct. And yet, jackassness is a word. All right. I mean, I wasn't sure. Sometimes I invent words as we kind of go along. You can be salty about those comments, Trevor. Every single thing went the Eagles' way, and they capitalized. Bunker Boys hasn't made an appearance. What's funny is everyone acts like Kansas City can't get players to make themselves better. Yeah, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. And I feel as though, are we dismissing what they did? Like all of a sudden, you're allowed to lose a friggin' Super Bowl. It doesn't mean you're washed. It doesn't mean you're done. Like that's where I have a hard time, kind of wrapping myself, rationalizing these comments today, and to suggest that Andy Reid should step down is absolutely it's an asinine comment. It's a disrespectful comment, to be quite honest with you, because under the same breath, then say Patrick Mahomes needs to retire. I mean, you're allowed to have a bad game. You're allowed to have a bad game. I mean, seriously. Don't you dare talk about Joel. Yeah, I'm going to get to him, B, because I'm tired of that nonsense, which I'll get into in a couple moments. So the Jets right now, so Aaron Rodgers right now doesn't have home. Well, I don't believe he's going to re-sign with the Jets. So you got that out there. You got all these rumors now heating up with the Giants and Matthew Stafford, and they hired his brother-in-law. Okay, we got the draft right around the corner. Okay, fine. You got Kelsey mulling retirement. Look, the NFL is nonstop. The NFL, it's a beast. We know that. And I know everyone, again, they're starting to come out with the odds and the short odds and the long odds. And then everyone does the list. Here we go, the list. I'm sorry. And this is with all due respect. I cannot objectively sit here and tell you that this is the all-time or one of the top 5, again, greatest Super Bowl teams ever. They just blew out the Chiefs. They blew out a team that their offensive line was bad. Their franchise quarterback, their Hall of Fame quarterback played poorly, and they had a hell of a defensive effort. Even Joe D chiming in Q, there's absolutely no way I would even snip putting this team in the top 10, let alone top 15 all time as a Super Bowl team. And he's an Eagles fan. He's a big time Eagles fan. Sarge in Delaware chiming in Q. Are you kidding me? Look at all those Raiders teams. Look at all those Steelers teams. What about the Doomsday defense? Even the Minnesota teams that never won. I would actually put them ahead of these Eagles teams. Well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, look, the 1992 Cowboys, they were a dominating team. You had the triplets. You had the Great Wall of Dallas, the offensive line. They were 16-3 overall, including the playoffs. And in the playoffs, their 3 playoff wins were by a combined 116-47. And that was 3 years after going 1-15. Okay. The 49ers team in 84, folks, if you were too young to remember that team, they crushed teams. That 49ers team in 1984, they were just ransacking the NFL. They were so good. I mean, when I say they were so good, they had a little blimp. They had a loss against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think it was like week 7 or week 8. It was 20-17, and they lost that game. I think it was on a last-second field goal. Gary Anderson with a last-second. That was their only loss. They destroyed the Giants, my Giants. They blanked Chicago in the divisional round, and then the NFC Championship, pardon me. They beat the Giants in the divisional round because they had to bye. They blanked the Bears, who were on the ascend, on the rise. So we're the Giants, 84, 85, 86, 20-0, and they just absolutely demolished the Miami Dolphins and Marino 38-16. To me, that's one of the all-time great NFL teams. All-time great NFL teams. The 85 Bears, they were 18-1. They allowed 10 total points in 3 playoff games, the 46 defense. Even my Giants in 86, they lost 2 games. They dominated in the playoffs. They absolutely destroyed the 49ers 49-3. They knocked Montana out, and then they blanked Washington in the NFC Championship, and then they beat Denver 39-20. The 78 Steelers, they had 10 Hall of Famers. The 72 Dolphins, we're going to forget about them? So, yeah, we all need to pump the brakes. Pump the brakes, okay, with that nonsense. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Just pump the brakes, okay? Do we think any less of New England's run because of their losses? WTF? No, of course not. Of course not. Shameless hot takers from the national media trying to stay relevant. Few are as objective as you. Well, yeah, you know what, Trevor? That's a very nice comment, and I appreciate that. It will be the Eagles' division to lose until 2028. What? Listen, the team you hate, Trevor, Washington, is rising. By the way, this is great. Did you guys hear what Dak Prescott said? I mean, what is he doing? Dak Prescott, well, the NFC East, I don't think they've had a repeat winner. I think the last repeat winner in the NFC East was the Philadelphia Eagles, was it not? Right? The last time I think was at 2005, 2006. Let me see. We'll Google it. Eagles won 4 consecutive titles, 2001 to 2004. And your point, too, is an excellent one. So because the New England Patriots lost to the Eagles, because the New England Patriots lost twice to the Giants, does that make it any less of a dynasty or a run? It doesn't. And I think it's disingenuous to suggest that this run is over. But I also think it's, hold on a second before we start to say the Philadelphia Eagles are about to have a dynasty. Because when they won the first Super Bowl a couple years ago, that's all I heard from Eagles fans. That's all I heard. It's a dynasty in the making. They got back to the playoffs, and then Alshon Jeffrey drops the ball in New England. That's all. Little salty about Prescott's Super Bowl comment, no class. Well, I mean, it's a stupid comment, but what is he going to say? I mean, like, what are you going to say? No, we're not there. We're not ready. We're not far out. Look, is he delusional? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, he's delusional because the Dallas Cowboys don't win in the regular season. They don't win anything in the playoffs. Dallas Cowboys win in February, March, April, May, June, July. Well, I should say March, April, May, June, July, August. They don't do anything in the playoffs, and they'll win a bunch of games in the regular season. Starman chimes in on Facebook, Q, do you really think Kelsey's going to retire? If so, where would you rank him among the all-time greats? I mean, well, listen, that's all subjective. I know he talked about his future on the podcast. I don't know, man. I just, did anyone get the sense watching the game the other day that they looked disinterested, right? They looked disinterested. And I don't know. I mean, now you're going to hear these again. We'll probably have these reports, right? Coming out. Someone was sick. They weren't feeling well. Just ridiculous run. Soft division, sure, but their playoff runs counter that theory. We're talking about the dynasties, are we not? Right? What the Pats did beats any other. I believe so. Yes. Yes, because they were in a horrible division. They beat up on Miami, the Jets, and Buffalo. But what are we going to fault him for that? The Patriots had a 20-year run of excellence. They really did. The Jets changed the course of NFL history. Mo Lewis knocks out Drew Bledsoe, knocks him out of the game, and here comes an unknown and Tom Brady, and the rest, as they say, is history. We're never going to see a run like that again in sport. We're not. But what the Kansas City Chiefs have been able to do is extremely impressive. I mean, you're getting 7 AFC championship games, 5 Super Bowls. You have an opportunity to go back to back to back. Man, come on. It's unbelievable. When Brady loses, he is seldom embarrassed like Mahomes in the Super Bowl. But again, yes. But what you're doing now, you're tap dancing on the man's grave. Because when push comes to shove, you're going to take Patrick Mahomes 9 times out of 10. Maybe even 10 out of 10. I'm not going to put Mahomes in the Brady Montana category. I'm not going to do that. Nor should you guys. But if you want to, go ahead. We'll agree to disagree. And Brady lost, the 3 close Super Bowls. And again, this is coming from a Giant fan. Okay? Eli and Tyree make a play that defined the NFL, one of the greatest plays ever. If we want to call it just right time, right moment, higher being, lucky play, whatever. And then Plax was open. Second time, great throw down the sideline to Manningham. And they won. And then the Eagles, Foles' moment, and he outplayed Brady. Brady has never really had a bad Super Bowl. Roethlisberger did nothing his first Super Bowl. Second, different story. But to your point, and probably Vince is listening, he's probably just driving off the road right now as a Steelers fan. But to your point, Tampa Bay shut down Mahomes, and the Eagles shut down Mahomes. It doesn't mean he's any less of a quarterback, right? So if you're using that argument, it's very hard to keep getting back to the AFC Championship year in and year out. That's, again, what you're doing. What I believe you're doing, Trevor, is discrediting Patrick Mahomes. You might not stick him with top 1, 2, 3, but Patrick Mahomes, when it's all said and done, he's going to win another one. He might win 2 more. This is not the last we've heard of Patrick Mahomes. It's not. My man Q dressed like a grilled cheese Sandy on the drive-by on Wednesday. Oh, well, yeah, went with a little yellow. I didn't want to wear the the rotation, right, with the Chiefs colors, and then I'll be damned if I'm wearing any of the green, right? So let's just, again, the Patriots, again, it's unreal what they've done, right? That's like faulting the Eagles for their schedule this year. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. You can't get on a team because of who they're playing. You can't. 727-858-6650. It was a great catch. You got a quarterback that's, the escapability like Eli. What do you want? Brady would do something to alter the game to the Pats' advantage. Didn't see that in Mahomes' Super Bowls because he was running for his friggin' life. Come on. Stop. That's madness with the comments. It's absolutely madness with the comments. If you want to sit there and say Patrick Mahomes did not play well, we know that. He didn't play well. He played poorly. And listen, I mean, it was a bad loss. The Kansas City Chiefs got embarrassed. The Kansas City Chiefs got thoroughly embarrassed. They got humbled. And when you're a champion and you're winning a lot of games and you're winning playoff games and you're winning championships and you're winning Super Bowls, okay? When you're winning Super Bowls and you get knocked off your perch, it's a bitter pill to swallow. That's what they're going through right now. But when they lost to Tampa Bay, what happens? They were able to bounce back. They lost to the Eagles. They're going to bounce back. The AFC is a hard path, man. I mean, Trevor, to be honest, then let me ask you this. If I stuck the Eagles in the AFC and they had to get through Baltimore, Cincinnati, if they got in, Buffalo, Kansas City to get to the Super Bowl, pretty tough conference, would you not say? I mean, seriously. And don't give me regular season. They beat the Ravens. I get it. I know. I watched. I saw. But now you got to do it on the road, or you got to play those teams in bad weather or a hostile environment, or they got to come down to Philly and they're equipped to run the football and play smash mouth football. Are the Eagles able to get through that conference? Look, Detroit lost, Minnesota lost. We knew those were going to be the two biggest threats. The Rams gave the Eagles their toughest challenge in the postseason. What does that say about the NFC? Seriously. What does that say about the NFC? Okay? If you're going to go by the rationale, all of a sudden Patrick Mahomes stinks, and what Kansas City has been able to do, there's, it's not impressive at all. And here we go. They're done. The dynasty's over. Okay. So would you guys admit right now the tougher conference is the AFC or the NFC? Because the last time I checked, the quarterbacks in the AFC, they're a friggin' beast. That's a juggernaut of a conference. You got Josh Allen. You got Lamar Jackson. You got Joe Burrow. You got Stroud. You got Patrick Mahomes. You got Bo Nix. You got Justin Herbert. Am I missing something? That's a pretty damn strong class of quarterbacks. And in the NFC, Stafford, aging vet. Jordan Love, inconsistent. Sam Darnold, my slinging Sam Darnold. We know what happened there. Baker Mayfield. Geno Smith. Kyler Murray. Purdy's a very good quarterback. Okay, good quarterback. Jared Goff, good quarterback. Jalen Hurts, yeah. Jaden Daniels, yeah. Dak Prescott. Whoever the Giants decide to try it out there. Come on. Stop. AFC is a much tougher conference. I don't know if the Eagles are going to be able to get through playoff teams. Now, the way they played defensively and the tone that was set and the zone they were in, maybe. But no one can answer that. All I'm saying is don't discredit the AFC. Don't discredit what Kansas City's been able to do. It comes off as, again, very, very disingenuous. It does. When Jared Goff is considered tops in conference, it's weak. Niners had cakewalk to the bowl last year. It's night and day. Thank you. It's night and day. So I'm going to stick that team going on the road in Kansas City, going on the road in Baltimore. Hell, if Cincinnati would have gotten in, that would have been a hell of a game. You know, I would rather have saw Buffalo or Baltimore against the Eagles than the Kansas City team that I saw on Sunday, but I'm not going to sit here and suggest that the NFC is a tougher conference. It's absurd. Absolutely absurd to suggest that. Monday Marcus chimes in, Q. I don't know who said Andy Reid needs to retire, but to your point, you're 100% accurate. If that's the case, Patrick Mahomes needs to shut it down. Yeah, Rob Parker said it. I mean, I saw the clip. It's a stupid comment to make. It's a stupid comment. It really is. I mean, you know, if Nick Sirianni got out-coached on Sunday and the Eagles lost 31-28 on a last-second field goal, right? Because, again, they, maybe blew a play, right? Blew a play. Would you sit there and say that Nick Sirianni should be fired today? When Nick Sirianni now has gone to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, winning playoff games, winning NFC championships, winning divisions. And look, I said last year I thought Nick Sirianni should have been fired. And it shows you right now whether you're still a believer in him or not. And we'll see, right? Because now you got another offensive coordinator coming in for Jalen Hurts, but whatever. He's a good head coach. And they play for him. And I know it's overstated. It's overstated, but the theatrics, it works. Right? It works. So like I said, it's one of these things. I believe we are so, and yes, I agree to that, Gabe. If you lose 31-28 and there's a bad call or a bad flag, chances are, you guys are going to come down and you're going to rip on these guys. And I don't think that's fair. I don't. I think that Sirianni shut a lot of people up, including myself. If they go 6-11 next year, he still has wiggle room. He's got equity in the bank. And Andy Reid's a Hall of Fame head coach. And if you guys think otherwise, if you think he should step down, it's ludicrous. It's just smoke and mirrors, man. It's an asinine comment. All right, quick timeout. We'll come back.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Call or text the show at 727-858-6650. Now, back to Q.
All right, you heard Bumper Guy, 727-858-6650. Let me get to some of these Facebook comments as well. Kevin chimes in, Q, it's absolutely asinine as you described it. So apropos that anyone would suggest that Big Red should step down. Look at all the championships. Look at all the Super Bowls. Look at the playoff appearances. He's responsible for flipping the script on 2 franchises. That's an excellent point. That's a really good point. I mean, think about what he was able to do with the Philadelphia Eagles, and now look at all of his success with Kansas City. I know there's there's knee-jerk reactions a lot of times in sports when you lose or you don't have the type of season that you thought you were going to have. I'm all for it, man. And maybe I got caught up with that last year when the Eagles were 10-1. They dropped 6 of 7. They didn't show up against Tampa Bay. I was so tired of Sirianni's theatrics. And then look what happens. You come around because he knew he was lame duckish and everything clicked. And to Man's comment, it's not like the NFC this year was a juggernaut. Come on. Detroit can't win the big game. Minnesota choked. Tampa Bay was smoke and mirrors. The Rams, smoke and mirrors. Seattle, 49ers had a down year. And I know 49ers fans don't want to hear this. Now it's being suggested that the 49ers should go and sign Aaron Rodgers and trade Brock Purdy. And you have all these players now coming out basically saying, did you see what happened in Indianapolis? Off of the strip, literally says, we don't want Aaron Rodgers. You know, players have come out talking about Aaron Rodgers. They don't want Aaron Rodgers. They don't want that headache. And that's why I'm saying, like, Kevin C is a big-time Jet fan in North Jersey. And he chimed in earlier today. He messaged me on Facebook because he goes, what do you think's going to happen with the Jets and Aaron Rodgers? What do you think are the potential landing spots? And I'll respond now on the air because I know he's listening. You know, again, if I'm a betting man, there will be a team that will take a shot on Aaron Rodgers. They will, because they figure we might be able to squeeze a little bit out of this guy. And you can also sell tickets. Aaron Rodgers, he's a Hall of Famer. He's an all-time great. He's a 4-time MVP. He's never really had the big moments when it counted. That's a fact. When you're talking about championship and playoff runs, that is an undisputable fact. You can talk about the Hail Marys here and there. That's great. Go put that on the bust. He's not the same quarterback he once was. So I'll give you a couple teams. Steelers don't have a quarterback under contract. Brady loves Aaron Rodgers. Brady is the decision maker with the Raiders. That's 2 teams right there. I can't see any other team taking a flyer on Aaron Rodgers. If San Francisco signs Aaron Rodgers, what does that tell you what they think of Brock Purdy? And maybe they're nervous because of the injuries with Brock Purdy. Maybe they still don't really subscribe into the notion that Brock Purdy's a franchise quarterback. Maybe they don't want to pay Brock Purdy. You know, I kind of laughed. I was thinking, well, if you're Aaron Rodgers, why don't you try to say, I don't know, beat out Caleb Williams with the Bears? Or if you really want to screwy one, go to Minnesota. But we know that's not going to happen. Minnesota's probably going to keep Daniel Jones as a backup. You got McCarthy coming back, and they're going to let Sam Darnold walk. But we know Aaron Rodgers has an affinity for the 49ers, California kid, just like Tom Brady all those years, you know, grew up a 49ers fan. Now, I don't know where Aaron Rodgers' head is at. I don't. And I'm wondering if the 49ers, again, if the 49ers are not sure about what they're going to do, or they're not sure, they don't have full confidence in Purdy, because you're talking about the 262nd pick in the 2022 draft. He's taken the 49ers to 2 NFC championships. I believe if he doesn't get hurt in Philadelphia, they would have steamrolled the Eagles that year. But okay, a Super Bowl appearance. 23 wins, 23-13 in 3 seasons. He can play. But he's also going to cost a ton of money to extend him. And he didn't play particularly well last season. Is it possible that they don't want to pay him? And they figure, you know what, Aaron Rodgers, listen, I get it. I don't think the 49ers will sign him either. I don't believe the Giants are going to sign Aaron Rodgers. I'm getting it all tongue-tied on a Wednesday. That'll take talking. As a fact, Jameis Winston. Yeah, you might. The Giants might as well. I don't think Rodgers signs with, he's not coming back with the Jets. Aaron Glenn doesn't want that nonsense. Aaron Glenn's basically saying, I'm a new sheriff in town. I'm the head coach. I control the narrative here. It's my team. Get out, Aaron. Go do McAfee somewhere else. The Raiders are an interesting landing spot. They need a quarterback. We know that. Tennessee, they have a high draft pick. I don't know. Is it possible Aaron Rodgers doesn't get signed? Odds on favorite would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. They don't have a contract. They don't have a quarterback under contract. Right now, they're plus 200. Raiders are plus 300. 49ers are plus 350. Minnesota's plus 400. Colts, Richardson's never healthy, inconsistent. Rams, the Titans, the Giants. And if you are curious, as a potential backup, Chargers, Eagles, Bucks, Commanders, plus 10,000. All right, we're going to get to a lot more, again, football on Friday. Patriots, who knows? I do wanted to just spend a moment or two on what transpired last night, where I have to shake my head, because now I'm a believer in the fact that, and I've had this discussion with my buddies, and I've had this conversation with Jonathan Marshall over the years many times. I said it was going to be a mistake to give Joel Embiid a max contract. And right now, if you watched that game last night, they were a 9-point favorite, were the Philadelphia 76ers. At home. Against a horrible Toronto team. And for years, all I heard was, this is the new NBA. This is the new NBA. A big man can hang out beyond the arc. A big man can shoot threes. A big man can put the rock on the floor. Everyone wanted to be the next Joker. That's all we heard, right? No centers anymore want to camp out in the low block. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to camp out in a low block anymore. They just, that era of the NBA is done. It's a pick and roll. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, fine. You have Embiid last night who wants to be that guy. Who wants to be that guy that can shoot the three. Last possession, late in the game, top of the key, wide open Embiid. No one contests the shot. No one's around him for 30, it seemed like 30 feet. And what does he do? He puts a ball on the floor and he loses it, and the Sixers lose by 3. He's washed. He's done. And now if you're the Philadelphia 76ers, all you've done is try to appease him over the last several years. Didn't work out with Ben Simmons. Didn't work out with James Harden. Certainly is not working out with Paul George. Maxi's the lone player, the stud on the team that's averaging 27. I don't care if Embiid's averaging 24. He's never available. He's played 17 games. And oh, by the way, newsflash, he's not playing tonight because of load management. When are we going to admit that giving him that money was a debacle and buyer's remorse is now set in? When are we going to admit, and I used to scream and argue with people on the radio, the whole trust this process crap is absolutely, again, ludicrous. It was a waste. It was a failure. It's not what the NBA wanted. The NBA stepped in. They did not want the Sixers to tank. They didn't. It's a piss poor product, and they haven't won anything since that. I remember I sat there when they drafted Okafor, and I interviewed Okafor, and everyone was talking about, you kind of threw the jersey on the floor. You don't want to be here. Yeah, he's bounced around. I've seen some bad Sixers teams. I have. This team's right there. This team, they're horrible. They stink. They're not even competitive. They're not even trying. You're not even putting a competitive product on the floor. They got waxed the other night by the Bucks. They got waxed the other night by the Pistons. They got waxed the other night by the Heat. Defensively, they're not there. You lose to the Raptors. I mean, come on. You're giving up like $130, it seems, every single solitary night. And when are we going to admit Embiid? You're not winning with Embiid. You're not winning with this guy. He is not a winning player. He is a front runner. Period. He is a front runner. He is a dog, and he is not the type of dog that you want in the trenches. He's not the DAWG. He's a DOG. He's lazy. He doesn't want to play both ends of the floor. And all I have to hear from Sixers fans and like just the juice that they're drinking with the nonsense. I mean, everyone talked about, this is the new NBA. You can stand behind the arc and you can shoot the three. You've got the perfect opportunity last night, but what do you want to do? You want to put it on the floor. You're a turnover waiting to happen. You're a flop waiting to happen. It's a horrible, horrible contract, and they're screwed. They should have traded him when he had some value. And I'm looking at this guy and I'm saying he is not only disinterested, he's becoming a washed player. A washed player. He doesn't have a future with the 76ers. And the 76ers do not have a future with Joel Embiid. I'm sorry. Yeah, he might give you a moment here and there where he scores the 38 and pulls down 10, and you're like, the guy can still play. It's going to be far and few. And the sooner the Sixers brass understands that, the better they can rip the friggin' Band-Aid off and they can start from scratch. They can start from scratch. And listen, I don't hate the NBA. I'm a hoops guy. I'm a hoops junkie. I love the NBA. I love college basketball. My St. John's on tonight, ripped off 10 in a row, top 10 for the first time in 25 years. I love hoops. Today's NBA is different. Today's NBA is different. Okay? We know that. It's just a different animal. There's no trust in anything. And yet Maxi's a great player. But Maxi's not going to be able to carry the load. And when you're a great player and you're young and you lose, sometimes you can get frustrated. Simmons, Harden, Butler, yeah. Listen, college ball is good, man, no doubt. And I know, contrary to some other, popular beliefs out there, the defensive laps in college, but March Madness is special. Conference play, tournament play is special. The NBA, they ratchet up the defense. We know that. They ratchet it up come the playoff times. Half-court offense, totally different. Totally different. And I know, my guy, D chiming in, he's like, Q, you're harkening back to the 70s, 80s, 90s. It's a different era. Yeah, it is. It is. Of course it's a different era. You know it and I know it. But again, you're allowed to plant your ass on the low block once in a while. My point is this. If you look at Embiid's career, when is this guy playing a full season? Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. I heard you have to just rest him come playoff times. He's played 17 games this season. He played 39 last season. He played 51 in 2020, 51 in 2019. I mean, come on, stop. I don't want to hear this load management crap anymore. He's a brittle player. He's a fragile player, and he's not engaged. He's not. He's not. He's not engaged. And you got a head coach that wants to run you pretty much up and down the court constantly. It's a major, major mistake to give him this type of money because you knew. And here's the other thing: the Sixers, the brass, and the doctors, have they ever been transparent when it's come to an injury with any player, especially Embiid? Never. Never. I mean, they straight up lie about the health status of their players, primarily Joel Embiid. Prior to the season, talking about his knee. Talking about his foot, tripping over this, tripping over that. I mean, come on. Jacking up the prices years ago. God rest his soul, to watch Kobe one more time when they had a horrible season. It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing. They told the Sixers, the brass told you that the Sixers and Embiid went through a dozen medical opinions before they signed him to that 3-year, $200 million extension. That was 2024. That was in September. I'm not buying that. I think it's a crock. I think every time he's missing weeks because of his knee. Every time. Or he's flopping, he's flailing. Come on. It's your classic buyer's remorse, right? That's all it is, man. It's buyer's remorse, and now they have to live with it. That's it. Greg Oden always got injured. Greg Oden was talented. I'm not going to sit there and say Greg Oden would have been a Hall of Famer, but he had problems with his feet. He always had the injuries. But you're talking about a player that was 7 foot, that was a shot blocker, that was actually running both ends of the floor. It just never panned out for Greg Oden, and it's unfortunate. Bill Walton had problems with his feet. Guys, just sometimes, Jeff Rulin had problems with his feet. Andrew Toney, sometimes it just doesn't work out. And you're constantly injured. But again, Embiid has the ceiling and the talent to be a Hall of Famer. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Exactly. He was good. He had the injuries. I think he would have been good, but not great. But it would have been interesting to see how it played out, no doubt. Sometimes injuries just rob you. Your heart and your mind want to go, but your body says, I can't do it anymore. But with Embiid, it's not even the body. I think he's gutless. I don't think he has a heart, to be honest. I don't think he cares enough about winning. That's just my opinion. That is just my opinion. I don't believe he is a player that is willing to do whatever needs to be done to be great. And if you're making that kind of money, you know what Embiid should do? Embiid should turn around and go see how Jalen Hurts carries himself. Because it's not like Jalen Hurts has, the greatest God-given talent. But Jalen Hurts has been doubted since day one. Jalen Hurts got benched in college. Jalen Hurts got humbled. Jalen Hurts got ripped. Jalen Hurts was drafted to be a backup. No one gave this kid a chance in hell. We talked about it, right? We talked about it. And maybe he needs to take that page, like find the passion, the love of the game. I remember crying. He was crying after playoff losses. Where the hell was that guy? Because now you got $200 million in the bank and you don't want to be in shape, or you want to maybe have a couple snacks or sweets or Shirley Temples. Like, where's the friggin' pride, man? You're playing in Philadelphia. You're playing in a tough market. You're playing with a franchise that basically said, here's the keys to the kingdom. Lead us. Take us to a championship. I'm telling you, some of these players right now, I don't know. I just don't know. Yeah, I remember that playoff series. I remember that was a horrible loss. I was sitting in Miami, by the way, when Kawhi Leonard went doing, doing. It was a wonderful time for me. I was laughing the whole time when the Sixers got bounced. But point being is, find the love, right? And if you can't, and if you believe your body's betraying you, then shut them down for the rest of the season. Shut them down. But don't give the fan base this false sense of hope and security. Don't. And stop trying to push this, the load mat. If he's not 100%, he shouldn't be out there. But I don't believe he's ever going to be 100%. And even if he is 100%, I just get this sense he's just not engaged, man. He's just not, he is not willing to do what needs to be done to be great. And it's a rarity. You can't teach that. It's innate. It's innate, man. It's like a fighter. No one's telling him, listen, if you're a boxer, guess what? Your old man or your girl or your trainer or your manager or your promoter, they're not waking you up at 4:30 in the morning to go do road work. You got to do that on your own. No one can push you to do that. You got to want to do that. You got to want to put in the time to run your 10 miles, to do, lift the weights, to train, to jump rope, to spar, to do the mitt work, to do everything. There you go. Thank you. There you go. He chose to play the Olympics instead of resting or getting his body ready. That is selfish, selfish, selfish. 100%. 100%. 100%. You want to rep the country? Yes. But you know what? If you're not 100% and you're making $200 million, man, you got a franchise that's counting on you. Come on. That's a selfish thing to do. That's a selfish thing to do. Yes, there's pride in representing your country. But you have to weigh the options, the pros and cons. You're not 100%. Now look, you're banged up. Listen, I'm not going to be shocked if within 2 or 3 months they shut him down the rest of the season. It wouldn't shock me. They're not going anywhere. Sixers stink. They stink. And all I heard, it was just run and crammed in my face and down my throat for years. Trust this, trust what? Go trust your ass. It's a laughable friggin' joke of a franchise who's never been transparent with their fan base at all. All right, got to start wrapping it up. 6 o'clock straight up. My man Jay is coming up on a Wednesday. Keep it locked in right here on SR 1029. So listen, Friday, a lot of football. We're going to start actually looking into odds for next season. We'll get into a little more NBA, a little college hoops as well. March Madness right around the corner. Don't forget, Pete Shepard starts you off tomorrow, 7 to 10. Pete Shepard show. As I mentioned, Jay's coming up. Keep it locked in right here. I'll be back on the air on Friday, 5 to 6. Might squeeze a 4 to 6 edition of The Drive, powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee, Played Again Sports, and the good folks over at Zen Auto Concepts. You guys are unbelievable with the comments. If I didn't get you on Facebook, I will definitely comment, as well as X. Don't forget, you can follow me there at RichQ at CSN Florida, at SR1029 The Game. Download the app. Have a wonderful Sports Wednesday. I don't know what the snow is where you guys are. We're getting a little rain, which is good, but hopefully you guys are warm. You guys are maybe having a little hot toddy. Enjoy a little college hoops tonight. We'll recap everything on Friday. We will put a final bow on the NFL season. Angel is just among the people right now. He might be taking a pace car. I don't know what he's doing. I didn't say he's taking a piss. I said he might be taking a pace car somewhere. So capiche capush. All right. We will talk to you on Friday. As always, be safe, be sound, and appreciate you guys tuning in to this edition of The Drive. I'm Rich Quinones. Hasta luego, buen día.